7:02, let's call the meeting to order. The Town of New Paltz Planning Board, regular meeting, March 22nd, 2021. Do I get a motion to approve the March 8th minutes?
So move.
Second.
Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, it's not the way we usually do this, but I'm happy that Alana arranged it this way so we can take care of our escrows up front. We have Mid-Hudson Sporting Clay. We need to set an escrow for them, and I am suggesting, after consulting with our consultants, a $7,000 escrow, replenishable at $3,500. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So move.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and now we have an escrow for Garvin's, 215 Huguenot Street. After consulting with some consultants, I'm suggesting an escrow of $4,000. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Okay, second. Oh, I want to amend that with a replenishable at 2,000.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
So, I mean, they're mostly just putting down a deck, right? 2 decks.
no, it's actually a larger project than that. It's 2 decks and a shed. They're looking for outdoor. I spoke to our attorney to get input for the escrow. So it's going to take some engineering.
I saw Andy asked an interesting question about how that is going to affect the indoor seating capacity and if this is going to be permanent or not permanent. So I was interested in knowing, I think, knowing if this is going to be a temporary structure would maybe change my opinion about maybe how much they should be paying and what's needed. I don't really know. I don't understand if this is temporary or it's not temporary, or we don't know, because a lot of people are doing extra outdoor dining, right now because of everything. So I was wondering if anybody knows.
Well, yeah, they're here on the agenda to talk about it tonight, so we can ask them.
I actually went light on that escrow, Amy, just to tell you, as I actually did on both of these, so that the escrow is only a guess, right? And they get back anything that's not used.
Mhm.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, good. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I saw at the last minute that David Brownstein wasn't coming. Alana, did he send something to you?
No, he just sent me an email and said he was going to be absent because I think there's a special town board meeting tonight at 7:30.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll move on. So is there anyone here for public comment?
Yes, we've got 2 letters from the ENCB.
Okay. Please.
Certainly. Good evening. My name is Ted Nitza. I'm a member of the town's Environmental Conservation Board. We have 2 letters of comment this evening. I'll submit the first one. The first letter is in regards to the Mid-Hudson Sporting Clays wetland disturbance, and the second letter is in regards to the Ohioville Wireless Communications Tower project on Jensen Road.
Okay.
The first letter, dear Chair Ruger and members of the Town Planning Board, the Town of New Paltz Environmental Conservation Board has reviewed the March 2nd, 2021 long form wetland and watercourse permit application from Mid-Hudson Sporting Clays for mitigation of a prior wetland disturbance. The applicant committed a serious violation of the town's wetlands and watercourse law by constructing a gravel road through a large wetland area without federal or town permits and allowing unpermitted unpermitted lead discharge into the wetland during an unknown length of time until the violation was discovered in 2018. The extent of the violation disturbance is described in the November 27th, 2018 memo from Mark Carpetta, wetlands inspector, to the town building inspector, and includes 3 impact areas totaling 0.31 acres of fill deposited into and along the edges of the wetland. The applicant proposes to mitigate the violation through the creation of 0.55 acres of new wetland along the edge of the wetland. The ENCB finds this proposal unacceptable. The proposed wetland creation will not restore the hydrologic alteration of the wetland caused by the disturbance of the road that now dissects the wetland. More importantly, it would set a precedent that major violations of the wetland and watercourse law would allow to remain. This could create an incentive for residents to simply break the law and seek forgiveness if caught. Chapter 139-19E states the town is empowered to compel the restoration of the affected regulated area to its condition prior to the violation of the provisions of this chapter. The unpermitted gravel road should be removed, and the disturbed portions of the wetland and wetland buffer area should be properly restored. These comments and recommendations were prepared and approved by a unanimous vote of the ENCB at our March 17th, 2021 meeting. The ENCB was established in Chapter 12 of Town Code to assist New Paltz in the preservation and protection of natural and scenic resources. Thank you for your time and your consideration of these comments. And it's signed by Ingrid Heckel, Chair of the Town of New Paltz Environmental Conservation Board. That's the first letter.
I'll read the second letter in regards to the Ohioville Wireless Communications Tower project on Jensen Road. Dear Chair Ruger and members of the Town Planning Board, the Town of New Paltz Environmental Conservation Board has reviewed the February 15th, 2021 draft environmental impact statement for the Ohioville Wireless Communication Facility and provides the following comments and recommendations. ENCB believes driveway option 1 is the preferable option in terms of environmental impact. This option would result in 0.08 acres greater disturbance of wetland buffer area, but would avoid removal of 47 additional trees greater than 6-inch caliber. We believe the very small additional wetland buffer disturbance is acceptable to minimize tree clearing. ENCB typically recommends 1-for-1 replacement of trees when granting tree removal permits under the town's tree conservation law. We recommend the planning board consider requiring offsets as mitigation for tree removal. Options to explore include tree planting in the wetland buffer portion of the clearing where the cell tower will be located, or near the front of the property along Jensen Road if it would provide additional visual screening. Alternately, the applicant could contribute to a town fund that could be used for tree planting in a different location. It is important to ensure that all silt fencing along the access road is properly removed upon completion of the project to avoid hazards for migrating turtles and other small wildlife moving between wetlands on this site. These comments and recommendations were prepared and approved by a unanimous vote of the ENCB at our March 17, 2021 meeting. The ENCB is established in Chapter 12 of Town Code to assist New Paltz in the preservation and protection of natural and scenic resources. Thank you for your consideration and comments. And it was signed by our board chair, Ingrid Heckel.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else here for public comment? Just looking for my agenda, just a moment. Okay, first on the agenda, we have a simplified site plan. Andy, do you want to describe that? This one is 257 Main Street.
Sure. So if the board remembers, the same applicant was back in front of you about a year ago to convert just office space to office space. basically, and there was a third floor apartment that they left at the time. And now they want to convert the third floor apartment to an additional 560 square feet of office space. So we went through the code, and it doesn't involve any extension or exterior renovations or lighting or any site improvements. It doesn't increase, traffic. I would say it probably decreases sewer and water use. It's a type 2 action under seeker, and it doesn't have an adverse impact on environmental conditions. So in our determination, we felt it could meet the simplified site plan approval requirements. Does meet.
Okay, so I'm always unclear as to whether we should type the action, but since we've done it before, why don't we make a motion to for this project to be a type 2 action? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, are there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then I don't know that we need to do anything else other than if anyone has any questions about the project, that they feel that it needs some kind of board review. It seems to me that both Stacy and our engineer have reviewed them, and it is a simplified site plan, so I think it's okay to just go through. If anything, the use is less than it was before. But anyone else want to say anything about it? No? Okay, so then we're willing to waive the review. So you want to make a motion to waive the review? The board
So
review?
move.
Okay, second,
Second.
okay, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. And I don't know, was there anyone here for that project? I don't think so.
Yes, Lee Frizell is here. I'm the
Oh, hi.
architect for the
All right.
project.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to, listen in and see if there's any questions that I could answer and take care of for you.
No, I saw the plans. They look nice.
Okay.
Anyone else? I don't know. Look good. Okay, so next we have another simplified site plan. 27 North Put Corners Road, Bimbo Bakeries. Andy, you want to tell us about that too?
Sure. So this is Freihofer's. It's essentially, there's like a bump out on the building on the south end that you can kind of see from the road that is office space now, and they just want to renovate it basically and to stay office space, make it more useful. They do want to replace a couple of windows to make it more energy efficient, which I don't consider an exterior renovation. So I think it does meet the requirements as far as not changing the building. It's not changing any of the parking or site improvements. It's not changing any traffic or water usage. It's type 2 action because it's a renovation. It's not going to affect any neighbors. So again, we think it meets the requirement.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about that project? Okay, so let's type it, type 2 action. Someone going to make that motion? Amanda?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, and I guess we can just let this go forward as well unless there's any objection or any questions. Any questions that you think you need site plan review? Okay, so want to make a motion, Jane?
So move to approve this.
Okay. Okay, very good. Second,
Aye.
okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay. Okay, next we have 215 Huguenot Street, Garvin's. I think Garvin's here. Maybe he can describe his project so we can all hear it. Garvin, are you here? I see you, I think.
Yeah, I see him.
He's muted. You want to unmute him?
I just asked.
May I unmute it?
There he is.
Or if anyone else is here to speak for that project?
No, he's here.
Thank- I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, thanks very much for hearing me out, guys, and your time and consideration. I just heard somebody saying earlier on that it was a bigger project, and in my view, it's not a very big project at all. I'm kind of here with my cap in my hand, trying to stay in business, to be honest with you guys. You know, outdoor dining was a big boost last year, and we realized the potential of it. We did it very responsibly, I feel. We got sanctioned by we got an agreement from the State Liquor Authority to allow it on our license, so that's already done. It's by the way, just a couple of people were saying, is it a temporary thing? Is it a permanent thing? I just want to deal with the Garvin's end of it first. It's a May to October thing, really, to allow us to go out. We've got a beautiful locust grove out there. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. And we are a high-end restaurant. We don't envisage any more usage than as already allowed there. I'll give you an example of the quality that we bring to the place. We have been allowed recently to go from 50% capacity to 75% capacity. And we haven't moved there. We've advertised that we're staying at 50% capacity because we feel it's safer. So we like to do things correctly. We have a track record in the town. I'd like to think we're a good corporate citizen. And hopefully with the addition of the Maggie Mays on the upstairs and 9, we'll be employing 30 to 40 people in the high season, you know, which is a lot of people. It's a lot of checks to write, and I suppose probably the reason I'm still in business is because of paycheck protection programs. So I'm very grateful for everything that has been done there. Now, just on the shed is so just staying on Garvin's. So we're using the grove out there for seating people, and we put about 20 tables out there. Our average group is about 2.6 people. 2.6 is our average, seating. So if you've got 20 tables out there, you're talking about 45, 47 people. We take about 15 people every half hour for dining, and we don't go over that. Some of you may know that because you've probably tried to make reservations on Garvin's and it's hard to get. And that's why we don't crowd out the place at any time. So the shed would be used just for accoutrements out there and helping the servers that are out there already to not have to walk all the way back into the kitchen to put in an order or whatever, or grab waters or stuff like that. Now, there is a consideration there from the engineer that the proposed place that we're putting the shed is up against the boundary. It's up against the boundary of Garvin's, but it's not up against the boundary of the whole entity. And I have an affidavit from Tom Gilmore saying that he was quite happy for me to represent him. Stacey, in fairness, had a meeting with me, and she had indicated that maybe should look at another place. Now there's a line of big trees there on the left-hand side of the garden, and there's a gap there, and that's not up against any property lines. And I'm quite happy to take her advice on that and not look for the shed to be up against the property line as it is, and to leave it there where it would be kind of more or less hidden in the trees up there. So that's the thing with the outdoor dining. And on the somebody mentioned that I'm looking for 2 decks on I'm not looking for 2 decks. There's an existing deck on upstairs on 9. It's 30 feet by 16 feet. I'm looking to add 8 feet out one side of it, and I'm looking to add 16 by 8 out the other side of it. So it's one addition. It's only 256 square feet that I'm looking for. So I don't, and again, that's going to be a seasonal thing, that it's not going to put any more pressure on parking or sewerage or anything like that. So I would hope that you can see where I'm coming from on this.
Okay, in a minute, I'm going to ask Andy, but are there any questions so far from anyone? I have one because I just can't remember. I'm looking through my stuff. What size is that shed?
12 by 10, 120 square feet.
Okay, normally I think of a shed as something where you store your stuff, but basically this is going to be a place where it's going to be in use for when you have outdoor dining, you're
So it's going to store furniture, that is required for the outdoor dining, and it's going to store a couple of other things. Just maybe a point of sale system could be in there to take an order or something. That can be, a shelf with a laptop on it. It doesn't need anything else.
Okay.
I have a
Jake?
question. So, Garvin, just to be clear, this
Sure.
looks very nice from the site plan. But what it is you're putting just tables out sort of on the lawn, and then
Yeah.
you want to build this shed, which would really pretty much be a permanent structure for your service and your utility stuff.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much the idea? But you're not building like a pergola for the tables or anything like that.
No,
I
no,
don't
it's
see that.
yeah.
It's just
No.
outdoor.
Yeah, it's just an outdoor. The shed will be there all the time, I guess. Like it's movable, all right. It's going to come in. It's a prefabricated shed. It's not a.
Okay.
But it's going to probably be there all the time. It's going to be, where I'm proposing to put it now is where Stacey kind of maybe guided me to was, in a gap in the hemlock trees that's back there. So it'll be, it'll be in keeping with everything else. It won't be an eyesore. It's a beautiful grove out there. We've done a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, so just in terms of the shed, that's going to be on some kind of a gravel base or something like that. You're not pouring a foundation or excavating or anything.
It's going to be on
Okay.
gravel. Yeah.
Just to be clear. Okay.
Absolutely,
That's fine. That's my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else before I turn this over to our engineer? Okay, Andy?
Okay, so firstly, the site plan is going to need a bunch of waivers for just kind of missing a bunch of things that are required by site plan. I think some of those are definitely appropriate given that this project is not a big project. And
No.
I think some of it will depend on whether this is permanent seating or not, and we'll get into that. But the board it's really up to the board whether they feel like that the site plan should have more information on it. It's basically a marked up version of kind of an older survey.
So what? Say that again? So
It's
what?
basically a hand marked up version of an old survey, is what they provided.
Okay.
So getting back to the seating, so essentially in land development, everything is based upon seating when you're doing a restaurant. How many seats defines how many parking spaces you need, how much sewer, how much water you use. So the question is this, and obviously outdoor seating makes a lot of sense given everything that's going on. But my question was, I'm just making these numbers up. The restaurant has 100 seats.
Yeah.
And they're going to have 50 outside from May to October. Is it now 150 seat restaurant during those months, or is those 50 seats outside displace the ones inside? And it's a big difference.
Sure.
And as far as are you approving a larger restaurant essentially for half the year?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. No, the short answer is no. We have a small. I alluded to this as well at the start. Is being a higher end restaurant, we don't like to say we're too top end because we don't want to scare people away. But we take 15 people per half hour, whether we're at 50% or 100%. So the tables that we put outside are temporary. They're going to be there while the weather is nice and clement and all the rest. And that will replace capacity inside. For instance, I'll give you an example of last summer. It was a beautiful summer, I have to say. But we would have done about 3%. We were allowed to do 50% capacity inside. But we did about 3 or 4% inside, and everybody wanted to go outside. Everybody, I think it'll be a feature after COVID. People will still want to be out there. They'll still want to enjoy with their families and one thing or another while it's safe to do so. And so it's certainly, I can assure you that it's not adding any more capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question about how that's going to, the outside will be lit at night.
Yeah, with beautiful cafe lighting there. I don't know if you were over there, Jane, or not, or if you drove past it last summer. We've got beautiful cafe lighting out there on the trees. There's beautiful locust trees.
When you say cafe lighting, what is that, like small bulbs that are strung on the trees?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, the way
Yeah.
Maxwell's Plums used to do that on their terrace. Okay.
yeah.
Only you and I remember that.
I don't expect, I'm sorry.
Yeah, people comment that it's like on a movie set or something like that. You know, it's a very magical locust grove there. It's absolutely beautiful, you know.
Yeah, but basically you're putting tables outside, you've strung lights on the trees, and you just need to move the shed there for the servers and
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Let me try and clear this up. Maybe, you know, Andy's question is legitimate. Garvin's answer is good. But what you're saying is that with 150 person capacity, you're never going to put 150 people in those two spots, right? Andy, is that pretty much what you're worrying about?
It is.
Or
and that's
what not worrying, but you know.
Yeah, just clarifying it. And that's the danger of making up numbers. I don't know what the capacity is. Maybe you can say.
So I can talk to the capacity. The capacity is 99 in the restaurant. And
good.
So,
yes.
Yeah, so not a bad guess. But I'll give you an example of how we do our business, just to maybe put you at peace a bit about this, about saying one thing and doing a different thing. We have an event space there that has a capacity of 175, and we never take more than 80 or 90 people there. We'd never have parties at night there. We take, you know, if somebody wants a bar mitzvah or a wedding or something, a small wedding, a small bar mitzvah, a retirement party, we take that party on a Saturday or a Sunday from 12 to 3 when it's not too busy otherwise. So, you know, we're in it for the long haul, we hope. It's been a very big struggle to be a restaurant owner for the last year. It has been very, very difficult. The people of the town have really been a massive support to us. We're doing a lot more curbside pickup and takeout than we had. And, you know, that's unusual for a kind of a more upscale restaurant. And I suppose a lot of people, I think, just support us to keep us there, you know. So I think, you know, I hope that if some of you know us, what we do, you know, that would allay your fears about, you know, we're not going to, as I say in Ireland, tear the arse out of it, you know.
Okay, Andy, you want to tell us about those other waivers? So the one, tell us about the waivers, all of them. I don't know if you mentioned all of them.
There's a fair amount. Let's see. There's let's see. The topography is one of them, which I don't think really would be appropriate to waive that here. There's tabular chart showing the different uses in the building. There's honestly, I didn't go through them all in detail because I wanted to kind of have that discussion first with the board to see, you know, if they did want a more detailed plan. It does have some of the information. It doesn't indicate how many seats are proposed outside. Garvin, how many seats are you looking to add outside?
I would say I'll probably end up adding around 50 seats there, Andy. You know, if you think about 20 tables, 22 tables, like our average group is as I said, 2.6 heads. So there's a lot of room out there. By the way, you know, last year people were driving up from the city to eat dinner in Garvin's and enjoy New Paltz and drive back to the city because we have the ability to have 10 to 20 feet between tables out there. You know, everything is done in a very high quality manner. So it's not, and like those 50 people, if they're outside, that is 50 people that may or may not have been inside, but they won't be inside. Nobody's going to be inside at that time, you know.
So the drawing that's in red, it shows it, I think, are these, I'm sorry, I'm holding up a piece of paper y'all can't see, but in red it says outdoor seating and it points to two different areas that are outlined in red. So do you know the footage of those areas or?
Well, I could guess it. Oh God, must be, oh, that's big. Maybe 2 acres out there at least, it's a big property,
Uh-huh. So, but these, okay, so y'all help me, the planning board, help me out. These are temporarily set up tables. It's not a room, it's not a building, it's not
No.
square footage, it's tables that are temporarily set up that could be more or less tables next year or the year after, when things are not as dire, or God forbid, Garvin sells this to somebody else and it's been approved. I mean, how do we, I understand what he's saying and about limiting his total number of seats between inside and outside to only the total he could get in the inside. But how do we assure that going forward, that doesn't change?
So, I mean, Ashley, Ashley's here, right? Ashley, is that something we could stipulate, do you think? I think the point is, correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda, you want to make sure that the seating is going to be.
Right, because otherwise then we have to look at parking and stuff, and this is preventing us from having to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it would be appropriate. I mean, the applicant clearly is willing to, to keep it limited. It would be appropriate to have a condition of any approval that the use of the outdoor space, the capacity of both inside and outside can't exceed what it presently is, which is the 99.
Sure.
And any ultimate approval, you could have that as a condition, and then it would be enforceable, against this applicant and any future owner of the property, unless they wanted to come back and study those, address those additional issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and the other thing is, I'm getting the feeling, Andy, that you would like to see a better plan. Am I right? I don't know. I mean, I get, because we didn't look at the conditions because we didn't have like a better plan. So,
Yeah. It's pretty basic, and in the last 10 years or so, it's not a dramatic cost for a consultant to put together kind of basic site plan. There's a lot of information available, so I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50. I think it would be good to show this a little better, something like site plan notes where you could say, 100 people maximum would go right on a site plan, and it would be more clear in the future with a more put together site plan. So I kind of lean that way, but I'll defer to the board on whether.
But if we could give him a list of those things, like that one you just mentioned, and the dimensions of the deck. And why did you think there was 2 and now it's only 1? What led you to think there was 2?
Can I answer to that? It's two different parts. So it's on the deck. There's one little addendum coming out on one side of it and another little addendum coming out on the front of it. Just from I suppose, is to make it more beautiful than just slapping a square footage on one side of it. So it's going to be a little bit tiered.
So it's not following that.
So on the 5th last page there's a little drawing of it that I have there, but it's not. It's just an addition to the existing deck, and the total square footage that I'm looking for there is 256 square feet. It's not a whole lot. Like in COVID, you could probably put another 4 tables out there.
have you opened that restaurant yet or no?
I'm waiting for a certificate of occupancy, and I'm working on it. We're doing a lot of work over there. So I have an appointment with Stacey on the 1st of April to look at giving me a certificate of occupancy. Yeah. So it's an old place that we have actually beautified quite a bit, and we're looking forward to, I suppose, hosting the golfers and other people up there as well, and it's one of the most beautiful views in the Hudson Valley is right there. The deck that is there is very small, 30 by 16. And again, I'm not going to be replacing any, there's not going to be full inside and full outside, from, again, May till October. I'm going to try to keep that particular place open all winter, so to have people working there and to service needs for a different, it's going to be a different, slightly different bar than Garvin's. Garvin's is we would like to say it's a high-end casual bar, or a bar and beautiful restaurant, and the #1 restaurant in the Hudson Valley, by the way. So it's going to be, Maggie Mays is going to be more like an American tavern and grill, you know. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what we can do. You're going to be meeting with Stacy.
Yeah.
I think maybe we need, do you have an engineer?
Are you asking me,
Yes.
Garvin?
Yes.
No.
And when did your survey that you used to mark up, you had that? I think what we're probably going to need is something a little bit more updated, and that has the notes for the things that Andy is talking about. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for us to look at all of these waivers that we have to give. And is there something that he has to go to the ZBA for? Andy, did I see that?
No, the shed, if I could just explain the shed, the reason why that has to meet setback, Garvin, is I know you own both properties. The owner owns both properties right now, but they
Yeah.
could literally sell that tomorrow, one of the properties, and then the shed wouldn't meet setback. So that's why.
I'm not looking for that anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm very happy to put that recessed and in the hemlocks there where Stacy kind of mentioned that it might be better. I'm very happy to do that.
Okay, so he doesn't need any variances.
I do not. No.
Okay, and
Thank
I
you.
don't know, maybe I misread this, but somewhere I saw that there was a proposal for 400 square feet of new deck. Did I see that somewhere?
No, so there, I'll tell you what that is, Adele.
Okay.
There is an email from the owner, and
Okay.
he is allowing me to, he's okaying for me to, or he's given his imprimatur to give me 400 square feet of up to 400 square feet. You're right.
I see.
There's an email there from him.
Yes, I think I
But
saw
what
that.
I'm actually looking for is just 256 square feet, because I think it's, appropriate. I don't believe it's a big ask. I'm just trying to stay in business. I'll be honest with you. It's not that easy.
It's not easy. Business is never easy. So, okay.
If I
Okay,
could just
please.
comment on that about the email authorization, you will need to submit a signed owner's affidavit.
There is one, Ashley.
There is one now?
It wasn't in the original scan, but I sent it. I'll send it over to you if you want it. But there is.
Okay.
one.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, I
Thank
did
you.
get. Yeah.
Okay, so Andy, you have sufficient number of questions that Garvin will need to answer for the next meeting. We're looking at maybe a little bit of an updated survey with notes on it, which is what you thought would be nice to have. I mean, I agree with you, that has these things on it, where the shed's going to be, where this is going to be in a professional way to present to us. And other things that you think should go, the notes that should go on. Anyone object to that? Everyone okay with that?
I mean,
This is gonna be hard to file, the way it is.
Seems kind of simple what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, my heart goes out to him that I don't want him to have to go and spend thousands of dollars to hire somebody to, like an
Yeah.
architect. So,
Thank you.
I mean, that's me, not the board, but
No, I know.
maybe there's a way that he could get some kind of a simple program online or something where he could kind of measure it out so that it would be appropriate for him to bring it to the board, and it would be a little more organized and in proportion without spending all that money. I don't know if anybody knows of a way to do that.
Well, so Garvin, when you purchased the property back in 5 years ago or whatever, was there a survey that was done or available to you when you bought it?
Not really. No. There was just a map of the place. I was taking over an existing restaurant, Rock and Rye, at the time. I was familiar with it.
Isn't the survey on record with the county?
There has
Oh,
to,
it's the old
what about the
survey.
map? Could the map be used, do you think? that he has, is if it's to scale and if it's got actual measurements?
You mean
Map is the scale.
that map is, this, I mean, normally the maps are like, somebody's certified them.
Yeah,
One of the maps, one of his maps is an old survey. I could see that. It looks pretty old. The last one that he marked up looks like an old survey. So I mean, it's a map that is to scale, sort of. I mean, doesn't have any dimensions on his outdoor areas.
oh, I see this other one here.
And then it
Yeah.
does have something that
It
says new building, which, it's designated right near the sewage disposal area. It says new building, 100 by 60. So, but that's not for this, but I mean, it makes me think it's part of a, what he's at. It could be confusing, that part. That's not part of this application, right? It's not a new building that's part of this application. We're just talking about-
Sorry, Amanda, there's no building down there. I see what you're looking at there. Yeah, there is no building up there. There was a building, and I suppose at one time there was a lot more use for facilities and sewerage and one thing, because there used to be a motel back there, somewhere around where Maggie Mays is going to be, and there was a building down there, and it was a kind of, I think it was a resort at one time, even where my event space is. I think that used to be a swimming pool. So there is, where that says that the building, there is actually no building there. There's a bit of blacktop up there now at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this map and it says motel units and it says barn and
Yeah.
barn. And so if those aren't even there anymore, they need to come off.
Yeah.
Like X amount or something, because otherwise we're confused about, then we think we're looking at setbacks from things that don't exist or.
Well, the setback is a valid point, and I think I addressed that. The fact that I'm happy to move the shed to where I don't need a setback. So,
I'm just saying that that's one setback, but we have to look at everything that's on the map. And
I feel that we need, I mean, maybe Andy, you can talk to Garvin and give him an idea of how to get something better without having to, I don't know if it's possible, without having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a survey, but get something that's better, because this reflects on the planning board too. If something like this gets filed and it's got all of this stuff that doesn't belong there and doesn't have the stuff that does belong there.
I agree with that. It used to be, 20 years ago, it was really expensive. You had to have a surveyor come out and shoot everything. Now you can bring in aerial maps to scale, and you can get it within a couple of feet, and you can bring in free topo, and you can put together a decent site plan for not that much money anymore. And I'm happy to talk with Garvin if you find a consultant to explain how, we don't need to do a full survey and, something we would do for a large development. We just need really kind of basic where everything is kind of survey.
Yes, if we're updating it, Garvin, we need the plan updated, that's all. And we're mindful that you have a time constraint because the weather's changing quickly. So we'd like to see this move along. And if you can consult with Andy and come up with something that's accurate for us to approve, that's, updated and accurate, that might serve as what I think I'm hearing. Am I hearing that correctly, everybody?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. That's all. We can't approve something old.
Andy, and those lists of waivers, they're gonna have to come before us again, right? So this is not gonna happen tonight. Maybe we can organize what that is. And so for the next meeting, if possible, we can vote to waive those things. Like one thing is, for example, the shed's gonna move now to where Stacy is suggesting. That's not gonna need a variance. That's gonna be in the right spot. We addressed the capacity thing. I don't know what else was on that list. I don't know what you meant by the topography. that we have to, what is it we need to waive about the topography?
The code requires showing topo, so I don't think.
I
that-
see, okay,
Yeah. you know
yeah,
what I mean?
okay, that's nothing.
That wouldn't be a problem. Yeah. The tabular chart of uses.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I'll leave that to you guys.
So those were the main waivers you were thinking of?
Oh,
Andy?
no, there's, you know, you have to show buildings within, let's see, buildings within 100 feet of the property line. Some of the stuff you'll waive on even larger projects sometimes.
Mhm.
The location and use of each building, the usage by floor area of each building.
of other
it's not-
buildings, Andy, excuse me, of other buildings not on the property? Or of buildings?
I would say it would apply to building, well, it just says buildings, but I would think that it would only apply to buildings he's making modifications to.
Okay,
You know, how many parking spaces, some of these things that, you know, I think a lot of them really don't apply since it's such a small project, but I'll go through it.
okay, okay, that would be good. So, because we can't do that tonight if we don't have the full list. And that way, maybe we can get the list in advance of the meeting and we could look at it and know what we're going to be waiving, what we might have questions about. I think that would be helpful. And the parking, basically, Garvin, you share the parking with the golf course, correct?
That's correct, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, and when does it
And-
usually lighten up? Like 5, 6 o'clock? The golf course?
So, well, the golf course has made a good comeback due to COVID. That's to be sure, you know, that, golf was dying up until last year. So, you know, a lot of things have done well with COVID, and the golf course is one. It's a 9-hole course. It doesn't get too busy, but their day is kind of ending at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
There's a ton of parking there.
There's
All right.
plenty of parking.
all right, great.
Parking is an issue with all, you know, with all the business. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna probably leave this now unless anyone else has any questions. With Garvin has an appointment with the building inspector.
April 1st.
April 1st, and sometime before that, maybe he'll be in touch with Andy, who can direct him a little better on how to get this done. So that we have a decent plan to look at, and maybe not have to get a full-blown survey. And we'll get a list of these waivers. Anything else that we haven't covered with this?
Two quick things, for purposes of seeker, it's a type 2 action.
Okay,
You could classify it as a type 2 action tonight if you wish, and also it is exempt from referral to Ulster County Planning Board under your agreement.
okay, so 2 separate motions, Ashley? Do we need a motion?
Sure, I don't know that you'd normally do a motion regarding the exemption,
Okay.
so just
all
a
right,
type 2 motion.
okay.
Move to
Okay.
make it a type 2 motion. I move to make it a type 2 action.
Second,
Okay. Second, any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye, okay, all right, very good. Thank you. Thanks, Garvin.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, guys. I'll talk to Andy and you, of course. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So, next we have Mid Hudson Sporting Clay. Is anyone here from Mid Hudson Sporting Clay?
Yes, Steve Meyer.
Yeah, Steve.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Amanda is going to preside over this application tonight.
Okay, so this is, it's an application for a permit. It's kind of like one we've done before where an action took place without a permit in violation of code. And now we're trying to backtrack it and review it as to how it can be remedied. So we have this, it comes under section 139, our Wetlands and Watercourse Protection Law. And based on that, it requires the long form application for regulated activities. And we received that. although I'm not sure that every box that was checked about copies of different documents we got. Like, I didn't see a short form EAF. Although the detailed survey map we did get with all those parts, there doesn't seem to be any floodplains. The regulated area delineation report and map by the wetland delineator. We have the map that was done by the applicant's wetland consultant. And then we have a memo that was written by our wetlands inspector. I'm not sure this totally meets the requirements of the code. We were supposed to have copies of any and all applicable local, county, state, and federal permits or permit applications required for proposed activities. I'm not sure what happened with the core on this one since it's a federal wetland. And there were some other parts of chapter 139 that need to come along with the long form application, description of vegetative cover, a habitat assessment, hydrological systems, determination of vernal pools and wetlands other than the federal and DEC wetlands. So I think we still need some information about this one. But the main thing is the mitigation is, our wetlands code apparently was meant to be taken very seriously because the violations can trigger some quite serious ramifications in terms of fines and so forth. So I think that the message was that you don't want to mess with the wetlands. And so it's unfortunate that this has happened and we need to find a way to right the wrong. So.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mike Nowicki, our wetlands guy, is supposed to be on here. He's up in the Adirondack, so he's fading in and out. So I don't know if Mike's on or not.
There's a phone number there.
Yeah, and it looks like it's got a phone with a slash through it on my screen.
He's muted on the phone, but
He's muted, but he can unmute himself.
I think you have to do *3 to unmute yourself if you're on the phone, right? Isn't it something like that? Terrence, if you know, you can tell us.
It's *6, I think.
Okay.
There it goes.
There he is. Okay, Mike, you on? Nope. Or maybe he's calling in.
No, it says he's there. Maybe he's having a service issue.
Cell coverage in the Adirondacks is tough.
Yeah. So
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
There he is.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Okay,
Is that better?
Mike,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very good. So I heard your what you're requesting, but that was submitted. Mark should have all that information from the wetland delineation maps to the habitat assessment, the wetland mitigation plans, the wetland mitigation report, and we do have Army Corps approval. I got that last February, and it's valid till next March.
So that's great that Mark has it, but you're applying to the planning board and we didn't get it. You're supposed to have given us all these things so that we could review them, and we don't have them to talk about tonight.
I think when it was with the Environmental Review Board or Conservation Board, that's where, that was months ago when all that information was submitted to that board. I didn't realize that you needed this information, how to get it to you.
Okay.
Usually it goes through a point person, and usually I don't work directly with you. Like I don't submit information directly to you. It would sometimes be through the project engineer or the attorney. So maybe that's where it got mixed up.
I guess so, but we don't have it. And there's a lot of things we need, so until we get whatever you got in your information package, we can't determine what might still be missing. So somehow
Okay.
you need to get that to the planning board.
Yeah, so you can send that to me. I'm Alana. I'm the planning board secretary. So I'd actually reached out to the attorney and the engineer, just mentioning like, oh, by the way, I don't see the EAF, and no one got back to me. So I can, if you want to give me your email, or I can send someone an email, and you can send that to me.
Sure, I'll give you my email now if you want, and I could email you all the information.
Yeah, sure, that would be great.
It's MJ Nowicki, N-O-W.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. MJ Nowicki 1964 at Gmail.
Got it. Thank you.
You betcha.
Okay, oh, sorry, Amanda,
No, well,
not yet.
If I could, there was a memo that the attorney said came in late today, from the Environmental Conservation Board. I read it briefly because I've been driving all day, and I don't know if it's acceptable, but I'd love to be able to meet Mark out at the site again with your approval, just to go over that memo and discuss it with him. So we're looking at the same thing.
so that would be great. And actually, you have given us, or Steve has given us the permission for the planning board and authorized representatives to enter the property at all reasonable times. So that would include our wetlands inspector and anyone from the ENCB, if you would like to coordinate that with them.
Sure. I'll reach out to Mark tomorrow, and he can get whoever wants to go for the walk.
That would be good. So were you here when they read the memo? You have seen the memo though? You said you've seen it.
I had Charlie, the attorney, read it to me because from the Adirondacks now, I'm just about 50 miles from Jamestown, New York. So I've been driving all day. I haven't had a chance to look at anything on the phone. And from what it said, it seems like a meeting in the field to actually look at those impact areas and look at where the mitigation area will go. Might go a long way to solving that issue.
Well, it sounds like a good approach, and we need to hear more about it because right now, yeah, there's some very strong sentiments that are expressed by the ENCB that they would like to see something else. So, yep, y'all need to get together.
Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
none of that can happen until the escrow check comes in, so so our consultants can't get started. So I think hopefully that can get taken care of maybe tomorrow or the day after. You can make your preliminary plans, but as soon as the escrow check comes in, we'll be able to get started with our consultants.
Okay, and the applicant was here when that was set, right?
I don't know if Steve was here when you guys said that.
Well, I've been here since day one, but we had an escrow for our last plan, and then you guys or the town refunded us, and not until the other, I don't know what it was, last week, one day, I was informed that we have to have another escrow. So I'll get, I believe it's 5,000.
7.
7?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 7,000. So I'll talk to the owners tomorrow and get it over to you, get it over to the town on Wednesday.
Okay. And I did notice the other thing, you were supposed to have attached a copy of the deed. And just go through all your papers and make sure you got everything that was checked, that we have it, and that's going to be in that package that we're going to get eventually.
Yeah, I'll send Steven like Mike, yes. Thank you. I'll send you guys an email either tonight or tomorrow morning and just like make sure I have everything that I don't seem to have now.
Okay. Copy Charlie on it also for me if you could.
Yeah, I can do that. No problem.
Great. Okay. That's all I got.
I have a
Just
question.
related to that last comment about the deed also, Amanda. So the Ulster County property records indicated the owner of the property was an LLC, a different LLC that was from what was on the application. So it should be 411 North Ohioville Road LLC. Just make sure when everything's being submitted, the applicant will need to submit an owner's authorization from that correct LLC as well. And I don't know whether the board does, because you do have to make a determination of completeness. I know you went over a bunch of things tonight as far as why it's not complete. I don't know if it would be appropriate for you to do a formal motion to recognize that it's not complete at this point.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I don't know that we've ever done that before.
Yeah, I don't know what your process is, but the code does say you have to, there's specific time frames from when you receive it and you have to determine whether it's complete. So however you want to do that for the record.
We could do that. But before we do that, I just have a question. So, you know, in 2019, I have this, more than a memo, this list from Barton and LaJudas. It includes things other than wetlands, I guess. Well, I mean, it talks about reclaiming the lead, things like that. If you're going to be shooting into the wetlands.
Yeah, shooting the wetlands.
I know we have to start somewhere, and we're going to start with the wetlands, but there's other things involved besides the wetlands.
Besides the road, the wetlands has been violated in other ways than just the road.
Right. So I don't know if you've gone back and seen that and gone through it. So there's a lot to go through. And it's just, I think it's just going to take time. But I think starting with the wetlands inspectors meeting, I think is a good idea. That's it for me. Do you want to make a motion saying that this is not a complete application?
So move.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good. Okay, I think, is that it? Amanda, good?
Yes.
Okay, Steve?
Okay.
Okay,
Sound good?
yes? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Take care.
Bye. So apparently I have an old agenda.
Yes.
We were on the newest agenda. We were going to have a small discussion on the New Paltz Apartments. Is that what they're called? New Paltz Apartments? Something came in today. I did not have a chance to look at it. Has anyone here looked at it?
Are you talking about the NOI and we had 2 documents today and then we got a third one, like really shortly.
You know, today I didn't get a chance. I was just going over our stuff for tonight besides that, and that seemed to come late. Anybody want to comment on that right now? We can leave it till next time.
I'm not sure we can, Adele, if we want to. I mean, they declared the notice of intent to be lead agent. So if we have any concerns, if we have anything we want to do about that, we have a time window to do it in.
30 days.
So actually, the town planning board isn't an involved agency. So you received the notice of intent and all that information as an interested agency, but this board doesn't have any approval authority over any part of the project itself. So you don't actually, you're not one of the agencies that will be consenting.
Why? But this is why I think we don't understand why we wouldn't be considered an involved agency.
For a request to be an involved agency.
I mean, if we don't agree, we cannot agree, right? You
don't have any, so the plan is going to, the project is proposing to an annexation where the parcels are going to be located in the village. So it will be the village planning board that has the authority over the future site plan project.
Right.
So the town board and the village board have approval over the annexation. The village board also has approval over the rezoning request that's also involved, but nothing, there's nothing no approvals being sought from the town planning board. So that's why you're not an involved agency, you're just an interested agency. So your consent's not required, you couldn't be an agency, so you can't challenge the village planning board's request to be.
But the impact of this does impact, even though it's annexed, it started out as a lot line revision, so his daughter could build a house. Originally, it came to us. And the impact of this, because the village is completely contained within the town, is significant, it would seem, on the town, or certainly because of the scale of it. I don't think it's unfair to say it's significant. So there is an impact on the town. And so it seems a little bit odd that we have an impact on the town, but we have nothing to say. And can we ask to be a co-lead agency?
Well, you can't be a lead. You can't ask to be a co-lead agency, or you can't be the lead agency yourself because you don't have any approval authority, but you can. Correct. As an interested agency, you could certainly comment on those concerns, any impacts that you want studied. As an interested agency, you could always make those comments as well as the project goes through the environmental review process. You just can't be the one that's leading or challenging the saying you want to be lead agency instead.
And Ashley, could you clarify for me the issues around, this is just in terms of a discussion, issues around one family having a member who is the town attorney, and then having this going through to the village and having the same attorney I understand the reason for the same attorney for the village planning board and the town planning board, but not totally, since you were saying the town planning board doesn't have any jurisdiction here. So it seems a little bit like there's a lot of clarifications that I would like to hear about, because this came to us initially. The reason I'm saying this is because this came to us initially as a lot line revision, so his daughter could build a house.
So unfortunately, I'm really not familiar with the history of that. So I think it would be better to hold off on those discussions. And okay. Perhaps when Rick's back, or, he could get me up to speed. I just don't have, the specifics on the history, but certainly, we could talk about that in the future.
Do you, Ashley, do you know which board is this going to first, the town or the village?
It's been
going to both at the same time. So the town board and the village board of trustees
need to do a seeker. Are they doing a seeker?
Well, the village planning board has declared its intent to be the lead agency.
So even though the annexation hasn't happened and the property is still in the town, the seeker for the annexation, it was decided at that meeting, that joint meeting, would go to the village, to the receiver, not to the giver-upper. And that's how they then declared them, and that then made us uninvolved, because it wasn't taking place within the town. What's the impact of the seeker impacts of giving up the property?
That's going to have to be studied as well by one of the, the lead agencies. The planning board, the village planning board is the one that declared that intent. If the town board or the village board wanted to be the lead agency themselves, that could have been an option as well. And this is how it's just been progressing. So those impacts have to be studied under seeker, because that's part of the entire action. So the annexations, the rezoning, and the ultimate development itself, that's all going to be studied under seeker by the lead agency.
But to be clear, we were never given the option of being lead agency, because the town board agreed to annex it to the village without ever having consulted us after we changed the lot line. We were just used to do the lot line revision.
So again, I really don't know the specifics about that lot line and what's happened in the past, but the reason why, and there's no agreement, nothing's obviously happening yet, but they're proposing, the applicant is requesting to annex the land into the village, so that, because that's part of the proposal to, remove it. That's why
right.
you're not.
Well, we
you're not
understand
involved,
that.
so-
We understand that. We're just trying to make some other additional points because it does actually end up impacting the town.
So I think also, I mean, there's going to be public hearings in the town and in the village. And maybe once we have a full board, we can make a statement.
Yes,
And
that's
and
correct.
both of those, right? We can do that. So maybe we'll put on the next agenda. April 5th, we have the special meeting with the cell tower people. However, we may make it a little bit fuller, the agenda a little bit fuller to make up for things that we weren't able to fit in. So we could put it on for then for discussion, or the 12th. So the stuff that we got today, and I think Alana, you said something about us having to respond by the 18th, but that's
No,
not
that
really
was,
what you meant.
you know, that was my mistake. That was what Ashley corrected, is that
Okay,
only the involved agency has to do that consent or not consent thing, not the interested
Okay.
agencies.
okay, all right, good. Okay, everyone?
So do we know if Rick's going to be at that meeting? If we're going to put it on the agenda, since I guess he's handling it, he would probably be the right person to advise us and answer our questions. So maybe we
Yes.
could
Yes,
request.
he's going to be at that. He's going to be at that meeting.
Yes, I spoke to him today. He's going to be at the meeting for the cell tower hearing. Okay,
Is that going to be a hearing that's at only one meeting, or is that going to be a public hearing that's left open? Do we know?
I think it's hard to know, right? We don't know how many members of the public are going to want to speak. We don't know how long the meeting's going to be, you know, and if it looks like we're going to have to extend it, it may be over that
Well, I
day.
mean, like, how's the timing going? Like, do we have time to have a public hearing that's going to be open for several of our meetings, or is it gonna?
You mean because of the shot clock?
Yeah,
Is that what you mean?
yeah.
I'm not sure. I think we're okay.
So you had an agreement, and I believe the way the agreement was phrased to extend the shot clock, it's, you had a date certain, but then also you were able to just continue, you know, with neither side objecting. It hasn't been an issue. As far as the timing of the meeting, or the hearing rather, you will have a public comment, a written comment period, definitely, even if the meeting were to, or the hearing were to be closed. But I think that's all going to depend on the actual.
I personally hope that the meeting is open and that we allow residents to speak.
Well, of course, that's the point, isn't it?
Well, she just said if we're going to have written comments.
No, I'm sorry. I was saying that's a mandatory, though. Whenever the public hearing's closed, whether it's that night or at some other night, there's always a written comment mandatory under the secret regulations on a DEIS after the public hearing closes. So that's just an additional, always going to be there as well. That's what I was trying to say.
People can speak, but they can also, there's also a time after that they can add things. Or if they didn't get an opportunity to speak for whatever reason, then they can write in.
I hope that we'll keep it open for 2 meetings so that people have an opportunity. Sometimes these things take a little while to catch on.
Mhm. Okay. Anyone else have anything they want to add? Because I think we're set otherwise. Motion to adjourn,
So move.
second,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.